This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
What is up, everybody? This is Chris Shipley with Old Man Strength, normally hosted by Tim Johnson, but he's got some stuff going on tonight. So we thought we'd pull in some crews from some other Three Beards Media podcasts since it's Cyhawk week. So host from Side of the Storm, George Trice, and co-host from Hawk's Eye View, Andrew Barber. Guys, thanks for hopping on Old Man Strength tonight to talk about Cyhawk week.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here.
George, I was inspired by the new opening of Side of the Storm, and then I created one for Hawk's Eye View with a little bit more video. So I thought, man, we should make one for Old Man Strength. So I worked on that and produced that today. So,
Man, you improving everything, because Andrew, I don't know if you saw ours, but when we saw it, we're just like, man, that's actually pretty cool. Like it changed from the beginning. Like it changed big time. So I was happy that it came out the way it did. So
yeah, I did not see yours, but I saw ours, and Chris, you did an amazing job with ours. So I'll have to check out Side of the Storms, but I'm sure it's equally as awesome. So appreciate it.
Yeah, I found a new template and things like that. You can start importing some video and things like that. I was like, that's pretty sweet. So let's work on that. So anyways, nobody cares about that. We're here to talk about Cyhawk week. It's Wednesday. RVTV is going around. George, were you around when they did RVTV for Channel 13 around here?
No, I was not.
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue.
Okay, so I don't know.
Are they actually an RV running around or something like that?
Okay, so Channel 13 with Keith Murphy.
Okay.
They pull in Ed Wilson, who does the weather here for Channel 13, and the rest of the sports guys for Channel 13. They actually get in an RV and travel to different towns from Des Moines to the end result of wherever the game happens to be that week, whether it's in Iowa City or Ames, and they stay in an RV every night. But then these towns put on these big ass parties and shit like that for these guys.
I wish I would have known about
that. It's pretty amazing.
We should call Keith right now and see what he's doing. I don't know Ed. I met Ed. I was back at the game and I was in the Souk Up end zone getting a beverage. And I saw Keith and I said hi to Keith because I know him. And then people were coming up to this guy next to Keith and like asking for pictures. And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, man, he's like the mayor. And it was Ed. It was like everybody was like in love with Ed. I'm like, man, didn't even know who the guy was. And now I'm just taking all these pictures for him. It was cool though.
Well, so today they produced this gem, which is, I'll have to bring it up here. I'm going to share my screen. It's pretty freaking funny. They reenacted Smokey and the Bandit a little bit here. Check this out.
Boys, I'm going to need to see what's in that trunk. Enjoy the game, boys.
Now,
that's pretty awesome.
We will quickly point out that they had no Ames legend.
Well,
they had no legend beer in there.
And I'm gonna text Keith and have a conversation with him about that. Like, I know Ames Lager is Ames and Swarm, whatever, but there was no legend in there.
That's right.
Did they have any vodka? I don't think I saw any vodka bottles. I think it was just all beer, but whatever.
So vodka's too sophisticated for the Iowa fans.
Well, we already have Swarm vodka. Don't
you
worry
do?
about that. Yeah, we got some more vodka.
I just wanted to throw some jabs today.
Sorry.
And you
yeah,
gonna throw
well,
it right
they
back.
also had that. They also had that shitty Hawkeye vodka that was like $1.50 in the bottle on the bottom shelf for the
So
longest
Hawkeye
time.
Vodka did not have anything to do with Iowa.
No,
No.
It's
not
just
at
a
all.
brand. Hawkeye. Okay.
We're the Hawkeye State. I'm assuming that's where the name came from.
Okay, because it was horrible. It was like basically lighter fluid you were drinking.
100%.
It's not good.
Oh.
I think I may have at one point when I was younger bought a bottle of that and stuck it in a watermelon and let it seep into the watermelon.
I mean, when you were in
but-
college, you drank Hawkeye vodka because
You did. It did not matter.
You were dirt poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nasty though. You can use it to drink and you can clean a wound when you were done. So
and
black
velvet.
Yeah. Anytime you ask for vodka anywhere in Hawkeye vodka, that is what you're getting.
Man,
okay, so let's talk about this then. Andrew,
Right.
have you had the Swarm beer yet?
Yes, I've had quite a few. So I like it. It's a light, easy drinking beer. Wasn't sure how I'd feel about a golden ale, but I think it's a nice, crisp, dangerously crisp and smooth beer. So
Okay.
And have you tried any of the
I've not tried Ames Lager yet.
Okay.
But I want to.
What about the Legend?
I need to try some of the Legend and some of the Lager. I need to try all the Iowa affiliated beers, but I'm assuming that those are also, the point is for them to be easily drinkable, right? So they sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they're some. I mean, from what I've heard, is some of them aren't smashable. Like, I'm gonna shotgun a Legend, but I heard it's a little heavier to shotgun. I am gonna shotgun a Legend. So I'm gonna throw a shameless plug in there. So on the day before the game, there it is if you can. So before the game, the TCU game, October 7th, the Trice Legacy Foundation will be having a charity tailgate. So your money is basically a donation. It's $25 to get into the tailgate. Hy-Vee is sponsoring burgers, brats, and hot dogs, side dishes, beverages, and we'll have Legend beer there along with some raffle prizes as well. One of the raffle prizes is one of those Home Fields just released a Jack Trice wool bomber jacket. So we have one of those as our main door prize. So people that come pay $25 automatically get in there. We got some slap koozies just like the Ames beer they have for the Legend. And then we have some other things that'll be going on. We have a TV. We'll have games on if you want to just stay out there during the game. But go to Trice Legacy on Facebook, find us there, and you can actually go and click the link and buy a ticket and pay for a ticket. Even if you're not going to come, just give me your $25 and I'll send you a wristband just to show my appreciation. But let us know that you are supporting the Trice Legacy Foundation. So I had to throw that shameless plug out there.
That's right.
That sounds like a really cool event, George. And now you've got me wanting to go, even though I'm an Iowa fan. So
hey, just come hang out because this week right now, there should be another announcement coming out in about 5 days. So I can't reveal it, but there'll be another announcement. And when it comes out, you all will be the first to know.
Can't wait.
That's what's up. Yeah, I saw your post the other day about the donation level and things like that to get into the tailgate. So, and I might have a couple guys from Lincoln coming over that are friends that want tickets to the game. I have a couple tickets to the game, so I think we might just go to that as well. So
yeah, because I think I heard you got to really post up at one because of the construction. It's like a haul to get from one side. Because you went and tailgated this past weekend, right, Ship?
Yep.
And I heard it's so spread out because of the construction, it takes longer to get to all of the areas of tailgating, right?
Yeah. So up there where the construction is kind of a mess right now. But the public lots, where the peasants hang out like me, there's no change. Except for let's throw this out there because that's a good thing to let everybody know. If you're going to the game this weekend and you have not been up there yet, number one, if you don't have a parking ticket, you're shit out of luck unless you go buy on the secondary market. And let me tell you, these people are charging outrageous amounts for a parking ticket. It's ridiculous. The ISU ticket trader is, I think I saw somebody now S8. That's a fairly decent parking spot. I mean, that's right next to the stadium. But this dude wanted to charge $700 for a parking pass, and I was like, get out of here with that.
But there's going to be supposedly a special guest there, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you know, again,
so a guest, special guest, whatever special. He's the special guest. So that means that $700 is justifiable.
I sure. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Right. It's you
bet.
bet.
Yep.
Don't even get me started with that.
Nope, we're not. I just wanted to say that. I mean, that could be why the inflation on that game for this weekend.
I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure that's what it is. Amy's ready to hop on now here.
Isn't it always just kind of like that, no matter where the game is?
I think it is.
Everything's just kind of inflated when it comes to Cyhawk. That's why I end up watching these games at home or at a bar or somewhere like that, because I'm just not willing to pay the inflated price. As much as it's cool to go to games live, I'm just not willing to pay it. But more power to you if you're willing to pay $700 for a parking ticket.
Yeah, I mean,
no thanks.
That is ridiculous.
Right.
That's no thank you. But there is some room. There is some construction on South 16th. So where the public lots are, down where I always tell everybody where the old Kmart was, that is got some construction. So it's one lane. So I don't know, man. Jamie, I love Jamie Pollard, but his what happened at the game last Saturday as far as getting people in. George, did you hear this story?
I've heard bits and pieces, but I haven't heard it all.
And Andrew, I'm sure you probably didn't hear it either. So
no, I did actually.
Iowa State went to mobile ticketing and full mobile ticketing and can't screenshot. So they had these scanners where you would hold your phone, you'd throw your wallet, your tickets in the wallet, you'd hold your phone up next to the thing, it would let you in, it would open up the turnstile and you would walk through. At 12, we walked up at about 12:25 and waited about 10 minutes and got right in. It was a line. It was longer than I at that point was like, this is taking longer than it should. But then I figured people didn't listen, probably screenshotted their ticket. And you can look, if you go to your wallet, instead of having a QR code there now, it's got a little floaty little icon that just kind of floats back and forth and says, please hold this near the setting. So it's got some digital marker in your phone now that it just will beep and let you through. Well, from 12:30 on, the crowd was so bad that it took people 45 minutes to get into the game. The north side was a sea of people, and on the bridge, there were reports that people were at the gates at the front of the bridge, and it was nothing but people all the way down to the end of the bridge into the RV village waiting to get on.
That's like a quarter of a mile long bridge.
Yeah, and it was 95 degrees out.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people missed the pick six at the game. So now, not only do you have that, you have Cytown that's kind of got some tear up and so on, and South 16th's got construction on it. So it's going to be a logistical nightmare. I can't imagine how well it's probably going to go over as well as the Iowa band going the right way outside the stadium like a few years ago.
I'm going to buy a bus. I'm just going to ship people from Coldwater Golf Course. I'm going to start having them charge a Coldwater. I'm going to get a bus and I'm just going to ship people from there.
There you go.
Make a little extra money. I'm going to buy a bus for the
There you go. Yeah, Denny, if you went about an hour early, you got right in. The problem was that it was 95 degrees outside. Nobody wanted to sit there and wait on that. Nobody wanted to wait on that.
Do you think it would help if they actually sold beer in their stadium?
They do.
So
not in the suck up end zone club.
Yeah. To the elitist.
Legend will be
not to peasants like me, George. Not to peasants like me.
Exactly.
I'm in section L up in the. I'm in section L up in the.
And that's something that they have to think about because they actually get royalties from the Ames Lager, and because they get royalties coming back to the university, to the athletic department, why do they have a beer and not sell it in the stadium? I get people are going to get drunker outside than having a few beers inside, and you regulate it that way, but having it there so people aren't leaving to try to go get, hammered real quick or
Right.
sneaking something in. Like, I just think that would be better for people overall.
Yeah,
But
I do too. I think it's ridiculous that they don't sell alcohol in there. Everybody's drinking on the outside of it. And again, if you're going to take the moral high ground, then it shouldn't be allowed in suck up end zone either. So,
yeah,
but it is.
Hey,
all right. We're going
off topic. Denny,
Yep.
put your size polo in there. You on every podcast. I'm sending you a polo.
There you go. Okay. I'm sure he'll respond.
Yeah, he will. He's always on there.
He's always on. I've met him 2 or 3 times getting breakfast at Brent's the same time I do on a Saturday morning. So, okay, first topic. This is what we're going to talk about today on this one. First memory or exposure of the Cyhawk rivalry for you. So, Andrew, we'll go first with you. What was your first exposure or memory of the Cyhawk rivalry?
Probably not my first, but my first real great memory was I was at the game in 2002.
Is that the Seneca game when they came back and it was late November?
Yeah, it was. It was one of Iowa's 2 losses that year. And yeah, they came back in the Seneca game. Iowa was dominating at halftime. So that was probably one of my first memories. I had watched some other Iowa games before that. Some of the late 90s Hayden's teams that weren't so good, but that was when early in the Kirk era where you could kind of tell they were turning things around, the Brad Banks year. And I went to a lot of games that year. So that was actually my first Iowa home game as a 14-year-old young man. Went back to quite a few games in the 2002 year. It was a very special year for Iowa football as they were co-Big Ten champs that year. Brad Banks made New York. A lot of great players on that team, but that was my first real exposure to Cyhawk, and it wasn't a pleasant one. But I've also been to a few that were quite more pleasant for me as an Iowa fan.
So that one, I always get those two, the two with Seneca mixed up. I know he won both, so it's hard for me to get those mixed up. But the previous year was the 2001 year when 9/11 happened and the game got moved to November. I had always, for some reason, my memory was always that was the game that was in Kinnick where Brad had ran around and pretty much dropped the football and caused a fumble and we had recovered. But that was the 2002 game. I did not realize that the 2001 game was the game in Jack Trice.
Odd years in Jack, even years in Kinnick is how I always remember it.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Totally makes sense. George, what was
Same
your
for
first
basketball?
No, I don't have the same memories as everybody else because I didn't know about Iowa State. I learned about Iowa State in '88, and I didn't learn about Iowa State again until '97. And so, the year I came, they didn't play. It was an even year. They didn't play. I came in '98. So that actually broke the losing streak. And so I remember the game, but again, I was at a bar somewhere. I was able to get in. I was 18, but I was at a bar somewhere with people watching the game. And that's what I remember. Like, oh, they won the game for me. They really didn't, but that's kind of what you break the streak. But that's what I remember of the Iowa State rivalry in the game because that was my first one. '99 was my first one to go to. But just remembering what the rivalry was. So hearing about it and not experiencing it my first year, and then my second year actually going to the game and being there in that stadium and seeing all the crazy people on both sides. Because again, not from Iowa, from Cleveland, didn't know about how crazy this Iowa Super Bowl was. And so it was fun for me to go there and just see everybody acting a fool. And I'm just like, man, the people are angry. Like y'all really don't like each other for this game. And I just never experienced that because, I know that happened in Ohio State, Michigan, but I had never really went to an Ohio State, Michigan game at that time. So, that was my first experience.
So I have two. I vividly remember, and I don't know what year it was. It was early 80s. So maybe I'm looking at the list now. It might be 83 or 84. All I remember was it was the beginning of the game. It was raining and storming. I mean, it was a bad rainstorm, and Iowa kicked off, and the kicker slipped and fell as he was getting ready to kick the ball, and it turned out to be an onside kick, and Iowa recovered anyways and ran down and scored. And I thought, man, this is not going to go good. And, for the next 10 or 11 years, it didn't get any better. But my first real memory was my first game against Iowa that I saw in the stadium. That was 89. We had Bob Utter as the quarterback, and I was convinced that we were going to win that game, and we lost 31-21. But I remember the wind was so bad that day that you could not pass going into the wind. You could not pass, you couldn't kick, you couldn't do anything. And we had gotten the ball down, I think 7 at that point, and we had gotten the ball, and we had the wind, and we were driving, and he threw a game-killing interception, and that was it. But I was convinced when we got the ball and we had the win, we were going to win that game. So that would be my first memory of Cyhawk. So, all right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back, and let's talk a little bit about now maybe our favorite Cyhawk memory, and we can go from there. All right?
Let's do it.
So we're going to get an ad from our primary sponsor, Revelton Distilling Company, Osceola, Iowa. Hit them up for all your spirits. Grab some whiskey for this weekend for the game. Would love to see you guys tweet out and show us some photos of that too. So let's get an ad from Revelton. We'll be right back.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot-tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning spirits at any local grocery or spirits retailer.
All right, we're back. I think Amy is on the line. Amy, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Amy was at the Iowa volleyball game. She's, I believe, currently driving back. But I believe that we won that game. Is that right? The Cyclones won that game, Amy?
I don't want to
She
talk about it.
texted me earlier, and she's like, it's the Cyclones' fault that I'm going to be late because we had them up 2-0, and then they came back and won the game. So, all right, Amy, we asked before the break.
That happened.
Favorite
Yes.
first exposure or first memory of the Cyhawk rivalry for you?
I was trying to think about it, and I don't know, because it's always just been a thing. Like, I grew up in eastern Iowa, just north of Iowa City, so it's in my contract to be a Hawkeye, and so it was just always fans because that's the other side of the state, so it's just always something that I've been around. But I think the first game or anything that I went to was gymnastics at Carver, women's gymnastics. So I have season tickets for that. And I think that was my first actual thing that I went to. But we have women's basketball season tickets last year, and that was pretty amazing too. So I've been to a few things, but it's just always been something that's in my life. So I guess I don't really remember when it became a thing for me, but it just always has been.
Okay. This is extremely loosely based. Sorry. Favorite Cyhawk memory over the years. Amy, we'll go with you this time.
My favorite, it's got to be the women's basketball game last year. In Kinnick, parking was terrible, so we got there late, but that was
Why
amazing.
does that shock me? Why does that shock me that you were late?
I know. I'm late for everything, and if people have known me for more than about 15 minutes and don't know this, then I don't know what to tell you.
That's
this is just who I am this is who I am as a person. I've come to accept it, and that's just how it is now.
Andrew, what's your favorite Cyhawk moment?
Do I have to pick just one?
You can pick as many as you want.
Okay. Can I just say it's 2015 through the game last year, 2022. It's just, 7 years of just Iowa bringing home the Cyhawk Trophy in football. So that's probably my favorite memory. It's just 7 years straight of just Iowa winning the game. I thought Kirk was about to go on a Hayden 15-year streak, and unfortunately, we rolled out one of the worst offenses in college football last year, or otherwise we probably would be. So, I'll just pick that as my favorite memory, because within that time period, we've got the 2015 game where Iowa was down 17-10 in the third quarter, and CJ Beathard then throws a couple touchdowns to bring back Iowa back and win 31-17. We also have the 44-41, the Akram Wadley game, the triple overtime where Amir Smith-Marset in the end zone to end the game in triple overtime. Nate Stanley throws like 5 touchdowns. So we also have the 2021 game, the top 10 matchup. We have the 2019 weather game.
The 2019 weather game.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll talk about that one later.
How else do you define it? I mean, it was just, there's a lot of good classic games, and then you have, 2016 was probably not very memorable for ISU fans. We
okay, that's enough, Andrew. We're tired of hearing about it. I thought maybe you might say the 15 games straight. George and I are over here exhausted already.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to exhaust you. I can't talk about the 15 game streak because I wasn't alive for most of it.
Oh my God. Well, unfortunately I was, so
I got to talk about the 7-game streak, the 7-year streak. So
George, how about you? Favorite Cyhawk memory?
He's talking about the 7-game streak. I'm talking about the 5-game streak, or the 5 streak.
There you go.
The 5 streak. And it was 07. 5 field goals. Most boring game in history. I look at when we like last year when our kicker couldn't hit anything, and then I think about this game in 2007 because I was working for Nationwide, so I was living in Des Moines at the time, and I came back for every game. I actually have never been to the game at Kinnick. I need to get to the game at Kinnick. Maybe next year. I think next year I'm going to go to the game at Kinnick. You know what? Not that I think I am. I'm going to the game next year in Kinnick. So Drew, let's go to the game next year in Kinnick. But the 5 field goal game was the most boring game ever in the career. I'm like, we're going to lose this game horribly because we're only making field goals. I'm like, they're going to wake up. And they didn't. They took the lead for a little bit, but we won with 5 field goals. I mean, you can't write that in a movie. I mean, that was pretty awesome. And that was pretty awesome. So I'd say that's my favorite Cyhawk memory for this game.
So I'm gonna pull an Andrew here and do 2. It was the double overtime game. I think that was in 2012 or 13.
2011.
In 2011 when James Robinson, Steel Jance, rolled it in on the end zone. But George, you hit on to a game that I love for a different reason, and that's those old throwback uniforms. those uniforms they wore with the big eye on the side of the helmet might be my favorite throwback uniforms that they've ever worn.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Jack Trice ones that they wore a few years ago.
That was 13. You want me to go grab it?
I got it. Yeah, if you want to grab an actual version of it, this is the jersey that I'm talking about. That was my favorite throwback jersey that they've worn. When they came out in those against Iowa, I kind of geeked out a little bit because we never wear throwbacks. So for them to do that, I was pretty stoked. I was telling George they never wear throwbacks. They rarely wear these. So when they rolled out in these, it was a complete shock and surprise. So look how sweet those things are. Those are awesome.
So yeah, so I didn't pay. I think the winner Wallabies has one, and I think they paid a pretty penny at a golf auction. So I think I can get some good money for this one. Oh, this is Whiskey, everybody. Whiskey, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, Whiskey? Those are probably my favorite throwback uniforms, and they don't wear them very often. That's the one thing that is kind of sad about Iowa State is they don't do that a lot.
Do you want the blue to come back? Do you want the uniforms with the blue to come back?
No, I don't want any blue, but I like that logo is my favorite logo.
Okay, so the blue is but you don't like the blue in the uniform, just the blue.
No.
Okay,
just the whirly-bird Cyhawk. That's the one that McCarney came up with is my favorite. Gotcha. My favorite logo. So, all right, we are gonna take another break. We're gonna get a break from Wintrust Mortgage. Wintrust always has a sponsored question. Normally, the sponsored question on Old Man Strength is you can go back 10 years and you can change, or you can give one piece of advice to your former self. We're gonna switch it up this time. We've been talking about our first exposure, our favorite Cyhawk moment. I want you guys to think of this. You can go back in time and change one result of a Cyhawk rivalry game, whether it's a play or the end result or whatever. What's that going to be? So we're going to get an ad from Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. And then when we come back, we'll get you guys' answers and we'll talk about that.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
All right, and we are back. So before we went to break, we asked the question to Kyle Wintrust. We kind of changed it up. You can change one result of the Cyhawk game or play or something having to do with the rivalry. What's it going to be? George, we'll go with you first.
I knew you were going to do that. You know what? Andrew talked about the 7-year streak. I mean, I would just change it, not letting them have a 7-year streak. I feel like we over prepare for Iowa so many times, and we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. Like we're so excited and play that. I wish we would just not prepare for Iowa. We beat number 2 ranked teams, number 5 ranked teams with no problem. So don't over prepare for the Hawks. Let's play our game and win it. So I just wish that in those years, those 7 years, we didn't focus too much on trying to beat y'all and beat the streak. I think we shot ourselves in the foot with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Amy, you can change one result of a Cyhawk game. What is it?
I would change last year's football game end result. And here's my reason, though. Okay.
Because we won?
Well, yes, but there's a duh. Notice I didn't pick the game I was at tonight. So my friend Amber came with me last year to the Cyhawk game. It was her first ever Iowa football game, and she came with me. And we were in the south end zone, first row. And so I thought, this is perfect. And her son spent a lot of time in the children's hospital. So it's the first time she's ever done the way from Kinnick to the hospital and everything. And so the whole thing, and I told her she's never allowed to come to that game with me again. Although I'm sure that George and Chris would probably buy her tickets wherever she wanted to be able to.
If that meant that we were winning that game.
Yeah. So yeah, it's last year's football game for that reason. I can deal with us losing occasionally, not often, but occasionally. So
yeah, Denny says that was a game that no one wanted to win. There's no doubt about that. Probably because there was a lot of money on that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if either team really. I don't know if I really would have bragged if Iowa had somehow pulled it out, because I just felt so awful just watching both teams.
I was thoroughly convinced watching that game at the end when they were going to line up for that field goal that they were going to squeak it out.
Well, they had the wrong kicker.
So was I.
I was convinced that they were going to win that game.
They had the wrong kicker, or they might have. They were playing Aaron Blom at that point, and Drew Stevens was the more talented kicker with the stronger leg. I don't know why they had Blom in at that point in the year. Strong chance that Drew Stevens makes that and we go to overtime, and who knows what happens. But anyways, I digress.
Okay, you can go back and change one result, Andrew. What is it?
Well, then it's got to be 0-2. It was my first Cyhawk game, and also it was
that game's just stuck with him.
It was Iowa's only regular season loss that year, and probably the only thing that stood between Brad Banks and a Heisman Trophy. And also, well, probably not. Carson Palmer was pretty amazing that year, so Carson Palmer still probably wins it. And I don't know with how the BCS was, but there's also a strong chance that Iowa might have been in national championship consideration without that loss. So 12-0 season versus 11-1, and Brad Banks probably finishes second in the Heisman race instead of, fifth. I think he finished. So, but anyways, I think that's got to be it, because it would have been 12-0 early on in Kirk's career. And yeah, like I said, Iowa was co-Big Ten champs only because they didn't play Ohio State. They probably would have beat Ohio State. To be quiet.
So let me set the scene for you. This is mine. I'm up at 5 a.m. All of our tailgating friends are loading up into my buddy's Ragbri bus. We're going early because game day's there. 2019. We're in the tailgate lots the entire day. We go to the game at 2:30. We get a rain delay, several rain delays, several lightning delays. We finally go back. It's been an amazing day. Carson King becomes a sensation the whole day. And we lose on that fucking muff punt.
It was amazing.
And
it was so fantastic. I loved it.
Not only do I want to change it because we lost that game, but I also never want to have to see that GIF again in my entire fucking life on Twitter. The amount of times I see that thing to a response to a Cyhawk rivalry discussion just pisses me off. The entire day was ruined with one muffed punt. So that's what I want to change.
Listen, you have to live with that if we have to live with some of the basketball memories. So that's your trade-off there.
Yeah, I'll take George blowing kisses all day long. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take. Well, at least we got even with Bohannon's shoes, but it's fine.
Yes.
Anyways, I think that's the trade-off that you do in this rivalry.
I think so too. George, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, so that's that day. I went back and forth between that loss and the loss in 2021 because I feel like the 2021 loss may have derailed our entire season. that team was number 7 in the country. We had eyes of going to the Big 12 championship game again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we put all our eggs in one basket with that team, with that game. And I think losing that game really ruined some of our confidence. And I mean, you look at that now, Purdy, Hall, Kohler, 3-4 NFL guys on offense, 2 or 3 guys with NFL experience on defense. We just screwed the pooch on that deal too. And that was the beginning of the Iowa defensive lucking into all kinds of stuff because their offense absolutely sucked. So their offense was terrible.
Okay. So you can't say that the defense lucks into stuff because that's just straight up bullshit, Chris, and you know it. Just because our defense scores points, it does not matter. Doesn't matter.
So how many defensive touchdowns did you guys have there? How many defensive touchdowns did you guys have that year?
I don't know, but I will say that it takes a good defensive coach to put players in positions to be able to make those plays.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Parker is the best defensive coordinator that there is. And it also you got to think Iowa's getting a higher caliber level of recruits now on defensive side of the ball. You've got Cooper.
Games, defense wins championships.
What?
Offense wins games, defense wins championships, right?
I mean, that's kind of the
punting is winning
with Kirk Ferentz, but I'm telling you that
we got a better punter this year. We had a 70-yard punt over the weekend.
The recent uptick in Iowa's defense causing turnovers is due to players that can make plays at a high level. So I'm just, it's not just luck or circumstance when you've got 3 years of consistency in that regard and forcing turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I take it back. You guys only had 3 defensive touchdowns that year.
But
two of them might have been in that game.
It felt like a lot more, right?
It did. It
felt like a lot more. Yeah. And that's the Phil Parker defense. It feels like there's a lot more hazard for you as an offense than there really is.
Yep. That's it. All right. George is going to hop off here, and then we're going to finish with our last segment. George, go ahead.
I got to jump off, get the kids ready for bed. It's that time of night for you. So I'm in Arizona, so we're 2 hours different than y'all. So it's around that dinner time, everything right there. So, hey, I had fun, but I got to jump.
George, give us a prediction real quick for the game. What's the score prediction?
21-17 us. 21-17.
I'll take it. And I will.
Is there a prize for who's close? That's not likely.
I mean, we just put a friendly bet on it. If y'all win, I'll wear an Iowa. Like having a Trice wear something Iowa. That would be something.
I do love that.
I mean, I'm predicting we're gonna win.
You want to
have that side bet, Amy?
Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
I am all in.
Here's the bet.
You got to wear your Iowa State stuff.
Here's the bet. George, if you lose, you got to wear an Iowa shirt and go on Hot Mess Happy Hour.
Oh, there we go.
Got it.
Amy, you lose, you got to wear an Iowa State shirt, go on Side of the Storm.
You in?
She was awful quick to be okay with that.
Oh, yeah. You in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, that's the bet.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right,
All right, George, we'll talk to you later.
All right, please.
See you, George.
Okay, Denny says 24-14 Iowa State. I would go with that. I would take that. I don't know though. That I think it's going to be closer to 17-14, 17-10 Iowa State. Amy, prediction.
Shit, I don't know. I am so terrible at this. Iowa 21, Iowa State 17.
So this 20-17.
21.
It's the same score George picked, only reverse.
Well, I'm okay.
That's right. All right, Andrew.
All right.
Score prediction.
So
And you may do this tomorrow night on your show. I don't know, but
yeah, we will do it tomorrow night on Hawk's Eye View, both Drew and myself. So I will say Drew said that it was going to be a whooping in our season preview prediction.
oh my God, he's such a dick.
So he said it was going to be a whooping. I gave Iowa State a little bit more credit. Coming out of week 1, I think Drew was a little lower on the way Iowa looked than I was. Because while the offense wasn't perfection, I saw a lot of improvement from last year. I mean, last year in the Cyhawk game, Spencer Petras went 12 for 26, 92 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. I don't think, even though he's not 100% healthy, that Cade McNamara is going to perform that poorly, even though Iowa State's defense is good. And that has something to do with it. But I think Iowa went into that game last year with only 1 scholarship wide receiver. This year, they've got 4. They've got weapons at wide receiver, tight end, running back. Offensive line looks much improved in pass blocking. And Iowa State has a lot to backfill on defense. I mean, Will McDonald was a game wrecker in that game last year, and he's not there. So to get to it and make a long story short, I think this is going to be a 27-13 game with Iowa winning.
Wow.
And I think that 13, that last touchdown kind of comes late in the game. Maybe J.J. Cole throws a touchdown late in the game, similar to the Hunter Decker's touchdown in 2021. So give me
expected nothing less.
Give me Iowa 27-13, and it's a pretty good day for.
I would just like to point out that Andrew is the only one to pick Brian Ferentz scoring above his average, so to keep his job.
Yes, I am.
So let me ask you guys a question about that, because I've not seen an answer for it.
Bring it.
Now it's not a does he deserve to be fired question or whatever. I want to ask a question about the average specifically. So the statement is that his offense has to average 25 points a game, or that so
team total.
So it's not really on him and his offense to score that. Then that seems
100% no. So that's what people said immediately after it came out, was the contract did not stipulate specifically that it had to be offensive points. It's team total points. The other component here, though, is the 7 wins, right? So 7 wins, 24 points per game. So let's just say, okay, Iowa beats Iowa State, right? Iowa goes on to have a 10-2 season or something like that. They lose to Penn State, Wisconsin, but they average 24.8 or 24.9 points per game. I don't see a scenario where Brian Ferentz is fired after a 10-2 season, right? So a lot of people are going to make a lot of this 25 points per game, and we are on our podcast, right? We're playing up to it on Hawk's Eye View. We've got our graphic or whatever, but I don't really see a scenario where that 25 points per game gets held to tightly. I think it's more of like did they show improvement? Right? Is it complete disaster again? If it is complete disaster and Iowa wins something less than 7 games, Brian's gone. So
that's what I've always wondered. So
that's a good question, though, Chris. I mean, if you don't dive too deep or dig into it, you would think it's offensive points, but it's not. It's a team goal.
Okay. We are going to finish up with our last segment. Typically, this would be Steph Copley's Shut the Fuck Up moment, sponsor segment where we get to tell Tim to shut the fuck up. But Tim's not on here, so I'm running stuff. So instead, we're going to talk about our not, quote, lady sports T-shirts and how that's going. But Amy, first, why don't you explain to everybody how this came about, because it was a conversation that started on Hot Mess Happy Hour with you and Holly and Jess and Steph Copley, I think, was on that episode. So, and then we'll kind of dive into why we came up with the shirt and things like that. So why don't you tell everybody the backstory as to why these shirts are important?
So we were talking, I made a tweet, and this is what I do. I go to Twitter to start shit, apparently. I don't know, but pissed off a whole bunch of misogynistic old white men. But because it started with women's basketball and all the attention that Iowa is getting for women's basketball, all teams, not just the University of Iowa, but and people referring to them as the Lady Hawks. And I noticed it mostly when Iowa played Penn State at Carver. And that's kind of what triggered me on this.
Right.
And they call them the Lady Lions. Which,
oh, yeah. Okay.
They're the only Big Ten team that does that. So we went to the Big Ten women's basketball tournament in Minneapolis, and I heard Lady Lions again, and it's frustrating. And then there were a couple of teams that played in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament in Iowa City that were also the Lady Bulldogs and the other one, and I can't remember what it was, but so we just kind of talked about it. And the whole term referring to a team as the lady mascot is just it is diminishing, and it's disrespectful because they are part of the school and they are part of the team, and giving them a different name because they're women is complete bullshit, and it's awful. So a lot of people responded to that. We had Steph on and we talked about it, and a lot of people said, I didn't realize that this was a problem. And we've even had people since the shirts came out. I've never heard that. Well, then you aren't paying attention, quite frankly. That's just how it is. If you haven't noticed, then you're not paying attention and you're not listening. So they're not the Lady Hawks. There are a couple of, and we talked, Steph and Holly both went to high schools that had different names entirely for the women's sports teams. And it just it separates them. It makes them lesser, especially when you refer to someone as lady, and not saying that the word lady is bad, but we're supposed to act like ladies. Fuck that. That's what I have to say about that. So that's kind of how this all started.
Right. So we launched these shirts. Part of the discussion was, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of the slides here to show everybody in case they're watching right now. The Iowa Hawkeye themed shirt, I guess I should say. Those proceeds are going to go to Herkies. Is that right? Is that how they say it? That sports women's athletics. You can order yours. You can scan that QR code, or the links are all in the Three Beards Media Twitter space and things like that. You can find those out there as well. And then so any proceeds for the Iowa shirt will go to that organization, and then any that go to the Iowa State themed shirt will go to the We Will Collective, where Brent Bloom has assured us that we can earmark that to go straight to just the women's athletes only. So part of me, this is part of my not transformation, but my evolution of understanding this kind of stuff, Amy. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that term never would have occurred to me to be lessening, right?
Right.
But I typically am the kind of person that I'm not a woman, so I don't know what that makes somebody. When I hear that doesn't make me feel any less. I'm not a woman. I don't know what that would feel like. So I tend to listen to the people that are in those situations, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So as I evolve, I sometimes when I write these tweets out, I think, geez, should I even call it women's athletics? But I'm doing that so that I can let people know where the money is going to. So in that term, I think I'm okay. But I'm not going to call this Twitter person out because he's a toxic jackhole anyways.
Yeah, he is.
But somebody at one point said, so we shouldn't call the NCAA women's basketball tournament the NCAA basketball tournament. I think people are twisting that narrative because you're saying we shouldn't label them as a lady sport, but we're calling it women's national tournament and so on. So do you want to address that for the jackholes in the back that don't get it?
Absolutely. I would love to. So there is a difference between saying it's men's and women's sports or it's lady mascot. Completely different things. Like you say men's basketball tournament. So like it's a descriptor. It's not a separator.
Right.
So as far as lady goes, that's separating them from everybody else who is a Hawkeye.
Right.
They are not the lady Hawkeyes. They are Hawkeyes, or they are Cyclones. So when we say women's basketball or women's gymnastics, it's just a descriptor word. It's not separating them into something that's not part of the whole.
That's a great way to explain it. See, that clears that helps me be able to articulate the argument as well, because a lot of people have come in and made their comments or whatever, and typically my response to them is do you want to support equality or not? That's the question.
Yeah, and I know that one of the comments we got was, why shouldn't we just support all sports? And yeah, absolutely do that. But women's sports is so far behind everything else. Title IX is 50 years old, 51 years old now. And so it has, and we're seeing with women's basketball, and not just here in Iowa, we're seeing that if you give people the option to watch women's sports, they will watch women's sports. And so it has been a thing that hasn't been available, and now it's becoming available. And the only way that we can do that is if we support women's athletics, the way we've always supported men's athletics. So yes, it should be everything, but unfortunately we don't live in a vacuum where it's always been equal. And so as women, we get to play catch up for a little while. So,
yep.
That's where we're at.
Well, so these shirts got launched last Thursday. I think sales have been pretty good. We are working on a few other things. I saw that Hawk's Eye View retweeted out yours and CJ's photos of you with Coach Bluter. So she gave us a seal of approval. Three Beards Media will be at the We Will Collective Iowa State Women's Golf Tournament on Tuesday, and we will be handing out koozies, but we will also be encouraging people to buy a shirt for the women's side. And Amy, you and I talked about a little competition. So since you're in the betting. Since you're in the betting mood, and we're going to be tailgating together on Saturday, if you make it on time, and the game starts at 2:30, so surely you can make it in time.
I'm not coming by myself, so somebody else.
No, well then you should be all right. Well, then you should be there on time.
Do not forget the Jello shots this time, Amy. Or you are
That's right.
banned from tailgating for
That's
life.
right. It's the only reason you're invited, because you're the Jello shot queen, and I bailed.
Yeah,
not my fault, but I
understand.
bailed last year going to the Iowa State game. That's not my fault.
Yeah, you did.
I blame Caitlin. It's Caitlin's fault.
Nah.
So,
Yeah.
So
she gets a pass.
Actually,
I'm giving Caitlin a pass on that one.
Right?
Yeah, if I had to change one moment in Cyhawk history, it would actually be that you actually made it last year. So we didn't
Listen.
have
So,
all the
all right.
Twitter,
So
Twitter
here's the
drama.
story. Here's the story. I had Ron, I see Hawkeye, got me tickets. I'd been planning it for months. The week of the game, that Tuesday, Stacy starts to get sick. She works in a school. She starts to get sick. By Thursday, she's got a full-blown sore throat and stuffy nose. So then I pivot and I said to Caitlin, do you want to go with me? And she's like, yeah, let's go. I'm not lying that evening, her and her boyfriend had a minor split up, and she was absolutely devastated. There was no way she was going to be able to go anywhere on Saturday. So now I'm like, now I'm calling my nephew Matt. I'm calling my cousin Travis, who lives in Macokota, who's a big Iowa fan. I'm calling everybody. Can't find anybody to go with me. I don't want to go by myself. I want to go. I don't want to drive the 2 hours by myself. So I called my other cousin, and he said, this is what he said. His name is Seth. He's a huge Iowa fan. He's like, I would love to go with you, but I promised my son Kellen that the next Iowa game I go to, I have to take him. So, being the good uncle that I was, I gave up my 2 tickets so that Kellen could go to his first Iowa game. So that's the reason why I didn't
look at that.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is proof that there's bigger things than sports out there.
So
exactly.
Not only did I not get to go, but I created a brand new Iowa fan so that Kellen can go. In my own family that I have to deal with now. So everybody last year that called me a shithead for bailing, bite me. Okay? So just bite me. Because I wanted to go. I'm still missing out on those Mai Tais from Ron. So
that's true. Next year.
So
next
Amy,
year you can get Mai Tais.
Right.
I miss them all the time too because they're gone by the time I make it over there. Because I'm always late.
Okay, so Amy, I say if we can sell another 25 shirts by Saturday morning.
Okay.
If we can sell another 25 shirts by Saturday morning.
Total?
Total, yep.
Okay.
So I will call in the morning and get a total of what we're at. And then I will ask the lady at the Norwalk shop. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the Norwalk shop here in Norwalk. They are doing the shirts. They've done a phenomenal job of setting things up for us. So if you need some custom-made shirts, go check out those guys. But I will ask her to email me on Saturday morning the total. And if we have sold another 25 shirts from tomorrow morning until Saturday morning, I'll shotgun a Swarm beer if you shotgun a Ames Lager.
I already said that I'll add another one onto it. Why not?
Okay.
I already said that I would shotgun one for every 10.
I know. That seems like a bad idea.
What are we up to? How many are you going to have to do?
I don't want to give out a total because
I think just 2 so far.
Yeah,
okay,
but we are right now. The last I checked, it was dead even. 50% of the shirt sales were split. Were Iowa and Iowa State, so it was dead even. I don't know what's happened the last few days, so I need to check that out. So I will get that in the morning. So that's the bet for Amy and I, and we will go Facebook Live with that shit. And I will tell you right now, I can't shotgun a beer worth of shit. I'm terrible at it. So.
And I will be honest, I don't know if Swarm and or Ames Lager, I haven't had Ames Lager yet, so I don't know. Somebody else can fill us in, but I don't know if those two are the most shotgunnable beers.
I will tell you that, and this is, I'm not.
Swarm 100% is not a shotgun beer. So
right. I will tell you that Ames Lager is a lot easier to shotgun than a swarm beer. I will tell you a funny story. So my good friend Ryan, his son, was an Iowa State fan. Is an Iowa State fan. His son is a freshman at Iowa. We had at the end of the a couple weeks ago, we had a little barbecue, and he comes walking in an Iowa shirt and a hat, and he's got a swarm beer, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of my house!" He's like, "What?"
I love that.
I'm with a winner now. He's like trolling me. I know he's trolling me. He's a graduate from Iowa State. He's been an Iowa State fan for years. So then he's like, "I brought us some swarm beer." I couldn't finish it. It was so bad. It was not good. I just couldn't, and he couldn't finish it either. So I'm just saying.
It's not. I like it. Can I drink 18 of them? No. But yeah, I like it.
I can drink 12 of them, no problem.
Oh man, no way. Can't do it.
I can.
All right, guys. We're gonna get out of here. I appreciate you guys hopping on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of unconventional. We're gonna get back. But Andrew, you have a big guest tomorrow night on Hawks Eye View. Why don't you tell everybody who your big guest is?
Our big guest for tomorrow night is he's relevant for both schools, but it's Coach Dan McCarney. We're bringing him on with Drew and I tomorrow night, so I hope you all tune in to hear Coach Mac talk. He's a great interview. He's an awesome guy to talk to. I've never personally spoken to him before. I know Drew has. I know other people that have and that really enjoy him, and I've heard him talk in the past, but I'm sure it'll be a little bit unconventional. It may not be the most hardcore game preview. We might get some excellent stories is really what we're going for tomorrow night. So tune in to hear some Coach McCarney's stories tomorrow night on Hawks Eye View.
He called me and Tim professionals when he was on this show. So that's it's in our Twitter bio. I'm just saying.
That's the highest. That's the highest compliment that you can
Speaking
get.
of professionals, Amy, when is the next episode of Hot Mess Happy Hour?
Holly and I are trying to figure out when we're going to record.
Okay. Stay tuned.
And yeah, soon. We were going to record on Monday, but so we say Hot Mess is not just the name of our podcast; it's our way of life.
I'm aware.
That's where we're at. So we're working on it.
That's all right. But we do have a new show. We do have a new show premiering tomorrow at 4:00 Central Time. Justin Smool, Teddy Holly launches their new, well, not new. They've done Ball Don't Lie before, but the new to the Three Beards family. So that'll be live on YouTube and the Facebook page and their Twitter account on at 4:00 tomorrow Central. So make sure you join them. They're going to do some prop bets and things like that for the NFL, and they will be going every Thursday, 4:00 Central. So with that, I appreciate you guys coming on. Check out everybody on the Three Beards Media Network. Go buy a shirt. Go support equality for us, and we are out. Go Cyclones.